And today we're really honored to welcome Pria Acharya, a documentary filmmaker, certified mindfulness teacher, author, and ethical vegan. Priya weaves together compassion, mindfulness, and storytelling to help people live in alignment with their deepest values. She's the author of Go Vegan Mindfully: Barriers, Breakthroughs, and Vitality, which explores how mindfulness can support us in bridging the gap between what we value and what we practice. Priya will be guiding us today in meditation, reflection, and conversation on the intersection of mindfulness and compassionate living. Welcome, Priya. We're so happy to have you with us this morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin by settling in a comfortable seat. Allow your shoulders to soften, your hands to rest gently. And if it feels right, close your eyes or lower your gaze. Take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. Now simply notice your body. Feel the support beneath you, the weight of your body resting, the rise and fall of your breath. Bring your attention slowly through the body, your feet on the ground and legs supported, your hips and belly soft, your chest rising and falling, shoulders relaxed, face soft, jaw unclenched, eyes at ease. Now gently check in with yourself. Ask quietly, what brought me here today? Perhaps a word arises, like peace, clarity, or compassion. Perhaps it is just a feeling or even silence. Whatever arises, simply notice and allow. Now return to the breath. With each inhale, imagine the air as a gift from the trees. With each exhale, imagine giving nourishment back to the earth. Breathing in connection, breathing out compassion. Place your hand gently over your heart. Bring to mind a being you care about deeply. This could be a person, an animal, or even the earth itself. Silently repeat, may you be safe. May you be free from suffering. May you live with ease. Repeat these wishes 3 times. Now turn the same wishes inward. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering. May I live with ease. Finally, let the circle widen outward. Imagine your compassion as light radiating in all directions, touching all beings everywhere. Silently repeat, may all beings be safe. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings live with ease. Take one final deep breath in and slowly release. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Notice how you feel. Thank you for practicing with me. I'd like to share a little of my own journey. I was born into a vegetarian Brahmin Hindu family. For generations, my entire ancestry has been vegetarian. Meat has never been part of our meals, our rituals, or our identity. And yet, I am the only one in my family who has chosen to become vegan. The Brahmin tradition is also where mindfulness was first articulated, then later carried into Buddhism and beyond. I often reflect on that heritage, that my ancestors cultivated practices of presence and non harm, and yet today, dairy and other forms of exploitation remain normalized. For me, veganism is a way of bringing those ancient values into full alignment and compassion. It wasn't until I deepened my own mindfulness practice that I found the courage to live that alignment fully. Mindfulness taught me to pause, to notice my discomfort, and to make choices from clarity rather than conditioning. And that led me to the vegan path, not as a rejection of my roots, but as their continuation. One of the biggest barriers to living compassionately is conditioning. Most people eat meat because most people eat meat. It feels safe to go along with the crowd. Tradition, advertising, and social pressure all reinforce it. But mindfulness helps us notice that conditioning. Instead of reacting automatically, we pause. We ask, does this really align with my values? Take 30 seconds and think of one time when you felt tension between what you value and what you were expected to do. Just notice what comes up.
I know for me, what came to mind was just last week, actually, I spent some time with friends and it was a really enjoyable time. We went to the local fair, but often for me, fairs bring up a lot of negative things because there's a lot of animal exploitation. I had actually gone to photograph and document some reported animal abuse, I guess, there at the fair, and then met up with friends afterwards, and they were very interested in, walking through the tents with the animals. And to me, that was something that's very triggering because in my eyes, those animals aren't necessarily treated properly. So it was kind of the struggle between the social acceptance of animals at fairs and um my own struggle with that. And do I go along with my friends to kind of not ruin their good time, or do I say something? And that was hard for me.
And so, how did you choose to show up in that situation, Katie?
Yeah, I did end up just kind of, and not in a mean way, just this is actually something that makes me uncomfortable. I'm gonna hang back while you all kind of do your thing. Was so it kind of explained my point of view and in a way that was firm but not, over the top, and in that way was able to still kind of stand my ground without making a huge deal.
You so much for that share. That just resonates so deeply for me. Just remembering my last trip to India in 22 after 15 years, and I was remembering going to a temple and having to watch a ritual of dairy milk being poured over a deity, even across from um, a statue of a cow of Nandi. And it was just hitting me so much, the contradiction, right? It's like, how is no one seeing this? This was stolen milk from a calf, and it's being poured over a deity, supposedly in honor of the cow, and none of it seemed rational and made any sense. But I really appreciate your share around the compassion I could feel towards my own grief and love for the cows, and having that recognition, that I didn't have before. And I appreciate your share and having me see that um, and at least I was seeing my own um, grief and love that I hadn't really seen before, but to also have compassion for those around me, how they were in a place where I was, and hoping that perhaps they can see that connection one day. Thank you.
A few folks have put in the chat some really good thoughts. Joan says tension and alienation. I know those are two very strong feelings that come up during these sort of instances. Linda says usually around food, having to accommodate others by eating at establishments that serve flesh. Jennifer says going with my grandfather fishing as a little girl, knowing he was a preacher and not understanding why he would kill. And Anna says my workplace had a yard sale. I sold a bicycle for a low price. To show her gratitude, my coworker gave me a biscuit. The package said the biscuit had meat in it, but I ate it anyway. I didn't want to be rude. Definitely understand all of these. They're very, very easy to connect with. Thank you for sharing.
So the breakthroughs come when we learn to pause. That pause is the opening for compassion. So I remember being at a family gathering where I was the only vegan. I felt awkward. But when I paused, I realized the awkwardness would pass and the joy of choosing compassion would remain. Mindfulness also expands our sense of interconnection. When we breathe, we share air with the trees. When we eat, our choices ripple across the earth and its creatures. Does anyone want to share a breakthrough they've had? Maybe a moment when pausing changed how you responded with food or in life? Or can you think of a moment when mindfulness helped you approach a difficult or uncomfortable situation, whether around food, community, or family?
Forrest, would you like to share? For those of you who don't know, Forrest is our US project director.
Hey, everybody. I'm Forrest. Very grateful to be here today. And I'm actually, Priya, I'm actually very kind of overwhelmed with emotion right now. Thank you for everybody for being here. Yeah, I'm on a van trip up in Washington right now, and we're parked in this forest that is just so full of massive trees. And I was breathing with the trees last night. I love the trees. I have a book about trees I travel with. So for you to say the air we're breathing is coming from the trees really like hit me this morning. And your experience is really powerful. Everyone else's shares. Thank you so much for everyone being vulnerable and opening up. Yeah, I grew up in Texas, and it was interesting hearing you and Kartik both talk about coming from India with vegetarian families. And my granddad was famous for his barbecue. I mean, we had these gatherings where he would barbecue and in the backyard, and I would eat until I was literally nauseous and sick. Sometimes I was just like, everybody would just binge on animals. It's just heartbreaking to think about, but that's the culture, and that's um the environment I was raised in. And I've been vegan 17 years now. And I think, to tie this into what you're talking about, for years we would cook vegan food and participate in Thanksgiving meal and Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas Day, and we would participate and be made fun of with little jokes, and then or maybe just have comments here and there. And it really just messes me up when I feel like attacked by people I love for being kind to animals. So that's the last thing I'll say is, coming to these sanghas and getting to work with DVA and being around vegans is so healing. If you have a chance to do potlucks or meetups in your area, do not hesitate. There's an instant connection we have with one another. So I love you all for being vegan. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Katie, and everyone for putting this together. And thank you so much for letting me participate. Thank you.
I just wanted to introduce Kate and Keith and just acknowledge the blessing of them in my life. I have reached out to them as I went through my mindfulness certification training and experiencing challenges around my 2,500 classmates, generally not being vegan, and a lot of spiritual bypassing and turning to them for mentorship. So I'm so grateful to have them here locally to turn to for support and guidance. Welcome, Kate and Keith.
Kate bowing in, and we are so blessed to have Priya as a friend and to have her nearby and to see her at some of our events. I certainly share the feeling of grief and frustration when those dear to us just don't understand where we're coming from regarding animals. And I say something that perhaps people who know me have heard many times, but we've discovered that the way to navigate as a vegan that works for us is to have a local group of vegans. And if there isn't one in your area, to start one. It can be very small at the beginning. You just have a meeting in a restaurant perhaps or something. But now our Denver Vegans group includes several restaurant meetups, as well as a monthly potluck and a book club and other events. Potluck on Thanksgiving Day. By the way, it's very easy to find a venue in a church or other place on Thanksgiving Day, because that's not busy. It's not busy in public places on Thanksgiving Day. And anyway, so we last year had 80 people sign up for that one, and we're looking forward again to it this year. We had somebody come from Albuquerque all the way to Denver to come, and other people come from great distances, because it's so important, especially on holidays, I think, to be with people who get it. And and then you can see all these wonderful foods that people bring, and they all bring out their best foods, for the holiday. And it's definitely worth it. Just the effort to secure a venue and get the word out is not that much compared to the really deep joy from having a community in your local area.
Yes, thank you, Priya, for your book. And I would just add that that this is dealing with a local group is one of the most effective ways, in my opinion, to support people, because this is why everybody is in danger of falling away. It's not that you don't get the message, it's that you can't deal with the social situation. So I would add that, and I would say that mindfulness has led me to this point. So Keith, bowing out.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. So when we live aligned with compassion, vitality rises. Physically, plant-based foods bring energy and health. Emotionally, we release the burden of cognitive dissonance. Spiritually, we embody ahimsa, not as an idea, but as a practice. And we discover joy in community, realizing we're not alone, but part of a growing circle choosing kindness, which I certainly experience with Kate and Keith in community with them. So what does vitality mean to you? How do you feel when your actions and values line up? Certainly, and it can be helpful to remember our own journey when we may not have been as aware as we are now, and perhaps reflecting back to how we evolved and what was beneficial for us in evolving. Yeah, I think it's important to try to meet people where they are, and even trying to help prompt just a little shift, because as most of us experience from our own journey, we had a process. And Paul, I relate to your thinking too. I remember wondering about goat cheese as well in my transition from vegetarianism and moving away from cheese. And then culturally, I also had other excuses, like I wonder if the dairy from an Indian store is, less cruel if it's not coming from factory farming. And so there were a lot of my own process that partly was answered when I went to India and saw, yes, in fact, there is cruelty here too with dairy. Certainly. So as we've explored, veganism is not just a lifestyle, it can be a mindfulness practice. So every meal is a chance to pause, to notice, and to choose compassion. So each small act is a seed of change, rippling outward in ways we can't always see. So let's carry this energy now into a closing meditation together, if we can squeeze that in briefly. So let's return once more to stillness. Close your eyes if that feels right. Take a gentle breath in and out. Bring to mind one insight, one feeling, or one word from our time together. Hold it gently, as if planting a seed in the soil of your heart. With each breath, imagine the seed growing roots of strength, clarity, and compassion. Now imagine the seed sprouting, growing into a tree with branches offering shade and nourishment. See its fruit ripening, feeding not just you, but others, family, community, animals, and the earth. Let this image remind you that every act of compassion ripples outward. Now extend this wish outward. May all beings be free. May all beings be safe. May all beings find peace. Take one final deep breath and gently open your eyes. So compassion is not something we add to life. It is life uncovered, like a river beneath the ice. It's always there waiting for us to notice. As you step back into your day, may you remember every breath you take is shared, every choice you make is shared, and every act of kindness ripples farther than you will ever know. Thank you so much for allowing me to host today.